Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a little different video. For you that are following the series, technically this is number 5, but there's already been a number 5 and a number 6, but I previously deleted them, and I'll tell you why. For those of you that are coming back and going, hey, we just did all this. Why are we doing it again? And I had a gentleman, I believe his name was Sean, who commented on the video that's been playing this for a long time. He's been giving me some nice tips while I'm doing these videos, so I appreciate his help on that. And there was one thing I did that would drastically have changed the video number 5 and 6, the combat. And I'll explain just what I did wrong so people that are looking at it can learn from that. But I wanted to redo the videos because since I'm doing it, I'm not doing it as a tutorial per se, but as I'm learning the game, I'm letting you guys watch me learn. My only fear of that is if I leave those videos up and somebody watches number 5 and 6, and then let's say I made this number 7, number 5 and 6 were done wrong, and if they don't watch number 7, they're not going to know that. And I don't want somebody to learn the game wrong because of something I did. What was happening is on this, we're continuing on our 6 a.m. turn, Kleist here was activated. And I needed to stop the video at that point because I wanted to learn about fire combat and such. And there's actually a couple things I did wrong. First of all, and I'll just get into it quickly, I had moved him here and then to here. I couldn't have done that because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5 because of moving into an enemy zone of control. So first of all, he was facing off against these Grenzers, and there was some special results which allowed multiple fire combats, which would have never happened. Second of all, when I was firing here, there's one thing I was doing on the fire combat chart, and I'll let you guys know so maybe I'm the only guy in the world that ever made this mistake on it. But as I was going through the fire combat results, I was so focused on strength points. Okay, so typically you look at how many strength points there are. So let's say you're 32 strength points firing, and you divide it by the terrain type in the hex, right? So let's say you're 30 strength points firing for easy math. If the defender's in a clear hex, that gives you the 3-to-1 column. If they were in a vineyard, it would be 15. 30 divided by 15 would be the 2-to-1 column. Okay, what I did is over here, when I was looking at the modifiers, I saw over here that, where is it? Skirmishers are a -10, right? And I took that -10 off the strength points. So if I had 30 strength points, I knocked it down to a 20. Then I divided it by the 15, right? Which is a lot different than dividing the 30 by 15 and then taking a -10 off the die roll. So long story short, when I did this combat, I fired at this unit. It took 1 strength point loss, which was not true. It actually would have taken 2 and been eliminated, which I think would also cause these guys to make a check, but I'll look that up if it happens again. So 2 things. I wouldn't have been in this hex, because I don't have the movement point to get there. I could have gotten here. And then he would have been gone anyway. I could have lived with the 1 movement point mistake, but as soon as now this guy is supposed to be gone, because later on, these 2 dudes here in those videos were just blazing away with this guy. It just messed it all up. And the fact that I did it wrong, again, I'm not going to go back and correct every little mistake and redo whole turns for 1 small mistake, but if it's going to drastically change the outcome of the game, I feel I need to do that. So for those of you who have already seen this, we're going to start over with the activation of Kleist, because the Prussians had rolled and won the activation, and so we're just going to continue it there. So first we're going to move these dudes over here. Okay, so these are all Kleist, this whole set of guys here and this back row here, and then Kleist is right here as well. And then that guy back there is the guy he's on top of is part of it. So these guys are all in extended line. Oh, anyway, so we'll just continue. I just want to let everybody know this is Lobositz. Clash of Arms games, and I'm just kind of doing a playthrough as I learn how to play this system. I just really enjoy the 7 Years' War. I don't know a ton about it. I haven't done any hex and counter games really on the 7 Years 7 Years' War. I've done some miniature gaming. So those of you who've been with me from the beginning know it's just kind of a thing I'm really enjoying. I thought I'd just put the videos out there. And that's why I also wanted to make sure if I'm doing anything, if it's a major mess up, I just don't want people to learn wrong because of something that I'm posting. So, like I said, I'm not going to go back and redo everything if I miss a movement point here and there or something like that. But this drastically changed the difference. If you want to support the channel, please subscribe and then hit the little bell icon so you get notifications. And if you want to support the channel financially, I do have an Amazon affiliate link. Anything you buy through that link, I get a small percentage of the Amazon fee. It doesn't increase your cost. It just gives me part of what they would keep. So you don't have to buy games. You can click on that and then go buy toilet paper, and I would get a little bit from it. So if you want to support the channel that way, please do. And without further ado, we'll continue this activation. So I've also learned by talking with some guys in the forums that some of these charts are older in here. And so I do have my charts that came with the game. So as much as I would like to use the charts on here, per se, I'll probably bring them up so you can see them, but I'm going to be using these because they're a little more intuitive. They get a little more information, and it'll be helpful. Okay, so Kleist is activated. We already know that he was in command because he's right here. Frederick the Great's back here, and his wing commander's right here. So obviously we're well within the 10 from Frederick. We don't even need the wing commander, so he activates. Nobody's out of command. There's no disorder recovery. There's no fire combat because I'm not in range. You got to be at range 2 for infantry. The vineyards do not block line of sight. But so we'll go right to movement. So movement, we got these little marks on here. These are slopes. These are steep slopes. And they're going to add, I think it's plus, might have been a +2. Was it +2 or +1? Steep slope adds a +2 to your movement. Okay, so that really slows down. Originally, I thought these guys would get up closer and we'd be at long range firing, but going up and down a slope, when I looked it up, was the same. And they're in line column, so it's not this bracket would be as if they were in a column. They're in line, not a column. So we got to play +2. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move these guys. Now, these guys don't have a slope. So they're going to be able to move up to there. Now, understanding that I can't move into here, I'm going to have what I wanted to do with Kleist in the original video I did is I want to start to try to hem up these Grenzers here so that they can't mess with my guys coming down this road eventually. I want to start pushing them back through the vineyard. And I just want to make sure I was recording because I have this uneasy feeling that I was not. Okay, and I have a log file going. So, okay. I want to basically try to start to engage these guys and start pushing them back, because if I bring guys down and call them, I don't know the exact results on the sheet, but I know if you take certain results on the sheet and you're in column, you automatically seem to route, if I remember right. And I don't want to risk that. That seems really not good. So I think with that in mind, then this guy's going to move first. So he'll go 2 to here. There's no oh, you know what? There is a plus. That's a +1 for that slope. So he would go 3 to there because these green ones are slopes. Yeah, and a slope is a +1. Okay, so that's gonna go 3 to there, and he can't move any further because of the vineyard and the slopage. So this is going to be really slow treading. You don't have to count. You count the worst ones. These are steep slopes, and this is a regular slope. So it's going to be 2 and then a clear hex after that. So these guys could move here for 3. And then these slopes really mess with everything because I'd have to... Either way, I can't move up any further. So yeah, that's going to be really slow. Oops, I did that wrong. Just to clarify. This guy is a 2 unit deal, so this would be 3 to there. That's it. Then this guy here, 3 to there. Or no. Oh yeah, 2 and then 3. Same with this guy. Because of these extended units, I can't avoid the slopes. So it's nice to have them extended out because I'll get more firepower when the time comes, but they're really having trouble keeping the unit for me. You know, it's moving pretty slow because of all these slopes. So that's going to cost me 3 to go to there. And because of this slope right here, well, I think that's on that hex side. So I'm going to assume that's not a slope there and they can move 4 to there. We're going to have the same kind of problems back here. So we're going to highlight this guy and this guy. And they can basically go 2 to there. But then he runs into his own guys. I could go this guy 2, 4. Well, 2, 3, I guess. But do I want to get up in these trees? I'm thinking what I might want to do is get these guys out of these extended lines. Maybe that's not going to work. So already learning new stuff from the last time I did the video. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're just going to stop. The next time they activate, we're going to start retracting our size of our lines because this isn't going to function in these vineyards. There's too many slopes and problems. I can avoid the slopes if I'm a small unit. I'm not going to be able to avoid all the slopes and stuff as extended units. I would get extra firepower, but I think that's going to far outweigh the speed of my movement. So this is going to change completely because there's a slope here. So that's 1, 2, 3. And now if I were to go to here, it's 4 plus 1, so I can't even really engage. So going back and redoing this was the complete right thing to do because based on the movement and forgetting about these green slopes and stuff, I can't even engage. So we had this big battle going on for 2 videos. Because what happened is I kept getting special results that would let these Austrians activate and fire. They could fire close combat or artillery fire. And even if they'd been activated, you could activate them and it wouldn't count as an activation. And that happened like 2 or 3 times. So they're just blazing away. I'm getting return fire results. We have this huge battle going on. But as you can see, that battle never happened. So I'm glad I'm redoing that because that totally changes the game here. And the other thing is these guys are really moving slow. So that was not the best move to do, I don't think. We're going to move the leader up, and then we are going to flip him because they activated. So we went from 2 videos worth of combat to actually we had none because the opportunity fire doesn't get triggered when I move within range. It gets triggered when I do a movement and I'm in range. So next time these guys move or do anything, then these guys can react. I could just sit there next turn and fire, or if I get a special result, maybe they'll get a special result and they can do something. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So Kleist is done. The other thing is I remembered I needed to make sure all of these guys got marked as finished that were down here. I think that's it. Yeah. I had this guy that needed to get marked finished. Okay, so that would basically end the movement. We don't have any close combat. Activation complete, so you flip the leader, and then we roll for another activation. So let's go ahead and do that. We got a 9 total, so that does not meet our end turn number. We have to get a 10, so this doesn't move down, which is good for the Prussians. It ends up being an Austrian activation. So I could try to do something with these guys, but it ends up being Frederick gets a 5, the Austrian Brown gets a 4, so it's 8 to 10. So the Austrians win. Now, we do have these off-board dudes. which I need to look in the rule book because I'm just marking hexes. And for how the off-board stuff works, just remember it's in the down here. Just make sure you go back and watch the previous videos. Those guys would be able to come on. Let me zoom out here. In different places from down here to here, and here we have one of our units coming on, coming in back here even, right? And that's all based on where they are. And what I'm doing, because they don't have that in the module, is I'm just putting what hex they're in. So these guys are in G, right? And these guys are over in J. These guys had already moved this turn. That's why he's flipped. These guys have not. So I want to start maneuvering because I want to bring this. This is a big, huge infantry formation. They are 2 hexes away because they can move up from J to B or C. So let's go look. So B, if I move them to B, that means they would come on at 5933. $59.33 to $64.34. So that's here where these guys are coming on. So they could come on here. These guys over here in G, which are already in place, and they move this turn, they will come out by the church at Lobositz, right? So they're going to have to come on in like a road, not a road column, but a march column. This doesn't count as a village, so they can go through there, I believe. I'll have to look that up. They can't do it this turn anyway. I could try to move this infantry here this way, but that would take them 3 turns to get to here, and then the 4th turn they could come on. So it would take them an hour, over an hour. So I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm going to move these guys. So they're in J. I think I'm going to move them to B, so they can come on the next turn following the cavalry unit that's coming up this road right here. The other option I have, if I decided to move them to C, okay, because they're touching B and C, is then they come up on 6533. So here to 7034. So then they come in not on the road, but in this area. So I don't see a benefit to that. If I move, it would take me 2 turns to get to D, which comes in at 7026 to 7034. So basically over here. So that's ridiculous. No reason to do that. So yeah, the best move for these guys is essentially they move up 1 to here, and we're going to now put them in B. So I'm going to change his label. Oops. Oops. So it's trying to put a label on every guy. This is the guy I want to change his label. Change his label to off map B, and then just make sure. Now again, I'm just using hex numbers versus a printout of this. Because I'm not using physical counters and I don't want to punch my guys right now anyway. So he's going to be an off map B. Okay, and these guys are still in the back. And then we need to flip these guys so that we know that they have been activated. So in case we can activate. Now we can still try to maneuver these. The other thing is I brought on 1 reinforcement down here. So that does not change my objective. I only have to defend Lobositz. So everything I have on the board, plus these guys. But there's a lot of Prussians coming down the road. And I get the Grenzers here. If I want to, I can bring in 2 more units. And as soon as I bring in 1 more unit, then it opens up where Lobositz has to be defended, remember. So I'm going to bring that cavalry unit in here. And I'm going to bring that infantry unit up here, and these guys will continue to, come up here and form. My other cav can come up here and form on the left flank. And I've decided that I want to bring at least those two other units, that big infantry unit and the cav unit, which means I have to now defend this and this. But I just don't see this group here being able to hold out completely against all of this. Mostly because they got a lot of cav. My understanding and reading the rules, it seems like cavalry can just decimate lines. And I only have a little cav here and a little cav here. I'm going to say like half the cavalry they got. Maybe even less. Well, I guess I have this too. So maybe we'll wait and see, but I just don't see being able to win with that little bit for the Austrians. So my goal is to bring in at least 2. All right, so they've activated. So we're done with activation. Those are off-map activations, so obviously there's no need to check for... There's no disorder, there's no fire combat or anything, so we just move. All right, rolling again. Remember the Prussian number, for those that maybe haven't seen the other videos, I always roll the Prussian number first, Austrian second. All right, so we got a 17. So that's another Austrian activation, but we're not we're not above the end turn number, so that's good for the Prussian. So we can either try to make a command roll for, I think it's Drakowitz or something like that. What's his name? Draskowitz. We could try to activate him. There's really no, I could fire long distance here and here. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Or is it more important to get these off? Because none of these guys can even come on the board if it was even possible. This M guy, I could move him over to basically this would be an I, which puts him next to A and B. And even go this way if I really got desperate. But this is kind of a little tiny infantry unit. And as soon as I go more than these two and start bringing these on, then I got to defend the third town up north. And if I was going to want to bring on extra guys, I'd want to bring on these guys here at K. So maybe we'll move them to off map C, because then I can shuffle them this way. The other thing is you can, the most you can come in, and it would take a while to get there, would be at 70-17. So I can come in on this road here. But using the off map with this guy at K, it would take me 1, 2, 3. It would take the fourth turn, so an hour and 20 minutes before they would come on the board. And then they're going to come in way back here and have to march up to the front. You know what, though? I'm going to do that as a backup. I'm going to camp this guy back here eventually. So he's going to move up there. So K is going to move to D, right? So he's at B, so C would be here. So we'll just put him here as D. And we're going to change his label. Oop, I guess that wasn't... Oh, I had the whole stack selected again. Just want to do one guy. So K is moving to D. Again, if you have the game, it's all right here and easy to understand. So I apologize for this part being a little clunky, because I'm only giving you letters. But they don't have it in the Vassal mod. It would have been nice if they had the off-map thing here, but whoever created it did not put it here, and that's not a complaint. They've done beautiful with the mod. But so I'm just using these and putting them in relative position, but using the locations, which it says you can use the locations or you can use the little map. Okay, so that's the end of those guys. And again, just moving off map, so... I think I use my Austrians to get those guys moved on the map in case we need them, because they're going to take a while to move up. And I think there's going to be lots of turns where we don't have the luxury of moving everybody. So next initiative roll. Okay, now the Prussians win one. It's a 43, 4 and a 3, so it's a 9-7. So they want to activate. And we have these dudes here in column. And I think at this point, too, I'm going to want to activate my leaders. I have Frederick the Great, I want to say it's Molowitz or something like that. I don't remember. Let's flip him over. Mauler, I guess is his name. Moller. And then we have our wing commander, Keith. We better activate him because you have to activate those leaders when you activate a command leader. I'm thinking what we're going to do is flush these guys out of line column and start moving this way, because if they don't, you don't want to get shot at in column, because your guys will start running and then you have a big mess. So I think I'll do that. So we would activate Keith's. We say we're activating. This is Prince somebody. Prince Braunschweig. All right, so we're going to activate him, and he's this stack and this stack. We basically have 4 regiments here, 8 battalions. We're also activating our wing leader, Keith, Frederick the Great, and Mahler, the artillery commander. I guess we'll just activate all these special units too. Because they're, let's see, so if he activates, he's on a road, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he can activate everybody. So we might as well do that in case we run out of activations. They could still move on the road afterwards, but let's just do it now. It's not like we're giving anything away. So I'm going to start pushing the Prince's dudes out here, and then I think our artillery will move down this way. Okay, so to change formation to 1 hex spine, it costs 1, I believe. So let's go look at that and make sure. Facing our formation change. Hex march column to a hex line to 1 hex line to a 1 hex march. So basically I can change formation. The Prussians are in blue. I would be changing to my left, which would be here. It cost me 1. And then let's look at a facing change. How would that work? Single hex facing change cost. So American infantry, French infantry, all nationalities, all other units. In march road column, all other units in line skirmish. I'm going to use this as a chance to go to the ones that come with this in the book. So Prussian formation changes. Oh, you know what? These are just going to be formation changes. This sheet is that's fire ranges. Well, might have to use this because I don't know if I have a... Okay, so this says American infantry and French infantry, all nationalities, attack column, add +1 for Americans. Okay, American infantry here and French infantry in march or road column. Okay, so this is line and skirmish. So it's going to cost 1 or 2 to go to, or at about faces all. Okay. Okay, so for this guy here to change formation, I wonder if it'd be beneficial. I think it's going to still cost me the same if I change formation more than 1. And I'd be going to my, it's upside down, so I'd be going to my left. Oh, see right there. All right, so I learned something there. I can change the 2 hexes and still only be 1 to my left. So that'll save me some movement. So he's going to change formation for 1 movement point there. The slope is on these hex sides, so there's no slope here, so that's 2 3, 4. Okay. Now, keeping that in mind, there is a slight problem where if I just start stacking a bunch of guys here and they start shooting at me, they get some big modifiers. But I do need to get out of column. So that costs me 1, 2, 3, 4, because the slope is on these hexes, not there. It's really, so these Grenzers are really doing their job as skirmishers and making me pull out of column and have to deal with them. All right, so this guy is going to do, I wonder if I came down at an angle and yeah, so let's change formation to here. That costs 1. And go 1, 2. Now remember, Prussians don't have to zigzag because they can oblique. 3, 4. Yeah, that looks good. I like that. And this guy here, we'll do a similar thing. So 1 to there, 2. Might as well come down this way. And it wouldn't have caught. I could have just done this. So I'll just do. Got plenty of movement to do that, so we'll just go there. Because then these guys can start obliquing out of this into this open terrain, and we can even start getting ready to threaten the rear of the Grenzers if they don't back up. Then we got these guys here. Now they're in column, so they can move a little bit faster. I don't know if I want to shake them out of column there because then they're going to all be way back here trudging along. So the question is, do I stay in column and come sliding down here? I think we'll do that. That's kind of what I did in the last one anyway. But here you see we have a slope. And I might have been a little liberal with the slopes before and not watching for those little green slopes. And a slope is still a half when you're in, and a clear hex is half. So I think on a road you can ignore the slope, so it's probably fine if you were in column. So let's move these guys. So we have the Zaz guy, which was all by himself, and then we have these 3 battalions to make this regiment of the ANH. So I think we'll move these ANH guys first. Now, something to think about, when you have 8 guys in a hex, you start getting negative, the fire starts getting positive modifiers for casualties. So just something to think about. So this would be 1 because of the slope, 2 to go down there, 3 to change facing, and then 4 to go there. Okay, and these guys can basically follow. But you know what I want to get them down there, but I don't want to. So we're just going to move up to here, which we know we have enough movement for because we already counted. And then I'll stack these guys here because we have plenty of stacking, and they get moved up a little bit more. That way, if for some reason something happens and I get crazy with the Grenzers and run out here and shoot and rout this guy, we don't rout everybody. I don't foresee doing that because I don't think these guys being out in the clear would be very good for them. Okay, so let's move the leader Keith, or I'm sorry, the prince here. Let's get him moved up. So we're just going to move him up to here. Now, these guys are all in road column, and I'm kind of blocking the road now. So We're not going to get a lot of movement, and that's fine. We don't want to get our artillery up, so I'm just gonna bump everybody 1 hex up. Except for, I'll decide where to put the leader when I'm done here. Well, let me move him now just so he's moved. Let's flip him so I know, because I'll forget. And then let's move. So he's basically, this is all his dudes. And he's got some dudes down here, but these guys are independent, so they can, there's no rule that says that cavalry can't activate with infantry. So I don't have to worry about that. So we're just going to move him to there. We'll just put all these leaders on here, actually. And I'm going to flip them now, so I don't forget, because all I'm going to do is move the artillery 1. And I just don't want to, have to mess around. So not a brilliant move with the artillery, but it is what it is. And this guy might as well get 1 closer this way so when he can get on the road, because we got this big log jam in Balinka here. Okay, so those that haven't seen the old videos, this is drastically different than what happened. We had casualties that we no longer have. I think we had like 4 or 5 casualties overall. And that's all been changed so far. It's just drastically changing. So I'm glad that I went back and redid it. Plus I was showing people how to do it wrong, and I didn't want to do that. So I'm glad we redid that. So this is all done. All the leaders have been flipped. So the Prussians are done activating. But since there are still Austrians that can activate, and technically 2 more off board, we have to keep rolling. Because you could still get special results that could cause some craziness, and that's fun. So let's keep going. So back to the top for initiative. All right, we got a 39. So that's a 12, which is going to move this down to the end. And when the hour marker is placed in the end box, only limited activations are permitted for the remainder of the game turn. So that means basically you can fire with units, but you can't do any movement other than road movement. So these guys are going to fire, and because they got 2 guys that can shoot at him. We might as well take advantage of that and get a shot off, and maybe we can inflict a casualty. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe I'll find out that these guys get a bad result and he blazes away and does more damage. I don't know. But we're going to do that. Now, there is some discussion on the group, on the Board Game Geek. We were talking about, can these units here move as if they're in road column? There is no formation in the off-map units. I'm playing the original game, because the discussion was, well, they have the extended map, so you could put these guys on the map and they'd be coming on the map. That's true, but I'm not playing with the extended one because I don't have the rules for how that works. I just have the original module that I bought. So we're playing that our board, remember, ends here at Sulowitz. So you go straight across here, and this is basically where the board ends. So these guys, even though they're off board in column, they wouldn't even be on there. I'm going to play that these guys cannot move because otherwise what happens is I can move them like they're in road column, but then when the time comes to move them on the map, I could just have them in march column. Can't really, it doesn't talk about being able to distinguish that or whatever, so I'm going to default to that, which means the only activation we have left then is the Grenzers, who cannot move because they're not in road column, but they can fire. Okay, so as we go through the steps, all right, so we checked for command. They are not in command. There's no way that they can reach their commands back here. So we have to flip him over and see what his initiative rating is, which is a 5. Now this is all kind of academic because if he's out of command or not, they can still fire without penalties, but we're going to go ahead and do it, and I need a 5 or less, so he is in command for this turn, which would affect his ability to move mostly. being out of command, you can't do certain things. But we're in limited movement at this point, so I can't do those things anyway. So it's kind of academic. But we are going to go ahead and fire with these 2 Grenzers. Because we'd skip disorder or disorder recovery. We don't have to. We do the fire combat, then we would skip movement and close combat because we can't do it because of the end of the turn. Okay, so we're going to fire, and this was the big mistake I made on firing, which now I know how to do. So I'm happy about that. So we're going to be able to do it right. So what we do first is we take and add up these 2 guys. They're each 2s. All the same guys have to fire at the 1 unit. You don't fire individually. These guys they're not in the frontal arcs of these guys, right? So you go off each one like this. They can't get to them. This guy's too far, and there would be some question of this unit blocking as well. So these 2 are the only ones that can fire. So we have 4 strength points. We're 2 hexes away, and this guy's in clear, I believe. Yes. Okay. So 2 hexes away for Grenzer is times 2. The bracketed number is 2 hexes. This is 1 hex away. So we're going to take it times 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. So that's our strength. So I'm going to use this calculator here. So we got 8 strength. Then I want to kind of use this sheet here because I want to make sure I don't miss anything and mess it up again. The fire combat resolution procedure on my chart here. Determine the fire strength. We did that. Divide the firing unit strength by the fire defensive value of the target hex. So we're in the clear, right? So you would divide this, the clear value, fire defensive value for a clear hex is 10. So you divide that 8 by 10, and you get a 0.8. It rounds in favor of the defender, so it's going to go down. So we're not quite at 1-to-1, so that pushes us to the 1 to 1.5. So that pushes us to this column right here, because that has a quotation value of 0.66, and we are at a 0.8. We didn't quite get to 1, so we got to go to the 0.661. So we're on the 1 to 1 to 5 column. Then basically, you look at any kind of modifiers. Now, we know that 3 skirmishers right here, max of 3 strength points can fire, right? So skirmishers can fire 3 guys at most, so we're good there. So that's why we got to use all of our strength points. The other modifiers would be defensive fire, which they were not using, so none of this matters. This is telling you target size. So our target size is a 7, and each infantry strength point is a strength point. So 4 to 7 is a 0 modifier. There's no modifier. This is where I got myself in trouble, as I was taking that minus 10 and I was minusing it off the strength point of the fire when I should have just been doing it as a die roll modifier. There's no other modifiers. We're in the clear. This one here, I think over here they actually had the fire modifiers. I can't remember. Anyway, I know there's no other modifiers. There's not a ton of modifiers, which confused me because a lot of people made it sound like there was. There is for partial line of sight. If you're disordered, your strength points are halved. If it's howitzers, then there's fire multiple modifiers, like if you're in general order or if you're enfilading a target, you get a +1. So if you're normally 2 times your strength, you'd be 3 times your strength, that stuff. And then there's strength point loss modifiers, but that's not until we get anything. So we are in the 1 to 1 to 5 column. So we need a 65 or better for there to be any kind of result. We don't really want a 65 to 79 because then they can return fire. This D doesn't matter over here. This is the chart that's kind of old and wrong. If you're doing regular fire, you use this side. If you're doing opportunity fire or defensive fire, you use this side. At least this slash here, what you do is ignore the R on this side and you ignore the D on this side is how the chart that comes with it. You probably can't see that, and that's fine, but I'm just explaining it to you. That this chart's an outdated chart, I guess, is what somebody told me online. Okay, so we're at the 1 to 1 to 5. We have no modifiers plus for the die roll, so we're just going to roll it up. We got a 48, which is a non-result, and he's flipped now. We looked up to put him in command, and we can just leave him flipped because he's done, which is basically going to end this turn because all the Prussians have activated. None of these guys can do any movement or activate and fire or do anything else. There's no reason to keep rolling. Everybody over here for the Austrians is activated. This was our reinforcement already coming on. That's activated. So that would be it. So what happens then? Oops, wrong one. We click on that. This is going to go back to the 6 a.m. top. But now we go down to the 6:20 turn. And what I'll probably do there, just because mainly I wanted to get on today because I deleted those old videos, is I wanted to get on there today and let's finish the turn up though. I wanted to fix this stuff today so it was fixed and then continue from there next time I play. But we might as well finish the rest of it. So we do have the rally phase. So basically after Section C of the sequence of play is all about activation, moving, close combat, fire, all that stuff. Then Section D is the rally phase. After all commands have been activated, each player rolls one 10-sided die. The player with the highest result performs the following rally steps in the given order for all his shaken and routed units. When that player checks are complete, the other player makes his rally checks. So you'd make morale checks and try to bring your shaken guys to disordered, I believe. Let's see, what does it say? Oh, shaken would go to good order because it's good, shaken, or routed. A shaken disordered unit that passes its morale check is still disordered but in good morale. Make a morale check for each routed unit. If the unit fails, it retreats and may lose additional strength points. If it passes, it becomes shaken disordered. So you want to get your guys turned around and quit running. Then there's the maintenance phase. So we removed all finished markers off the map and flip activated leaders to their front side. And then return the end turn marker to... Okay, so we do that last. So all I have left to do is basically go through and flip all these guys, right? So let's flip him. Are these all just leaders? Yeah, so I can highlight all those and then flip, and they should all flip. And let's get all these flipped back. We can remove this finished one for these independent dudes. Make sure there's no other. I think we're all good there. Zip down across over here to the leader here. We can get rid of these finished ones. Flip these leaders over. Now there's a guy that's disordered here, and I left that on top because it'd be hard to find that. And that's not a morale state, so he's going to have to... So what'll happen is there's a disorder recovery. Next time that those units activate, he can try to recover that. If I'm smart enough and I get a leader over there eventually, I think he auto-recovers. Otherwise, he has to make a roll. But I didn't want to put a leader out of position by accident because I figured I had plenty of time before the Prussians would get anywhere near me. Then I'm going to go up here and click on this, and in Vassal that removes all the move markers, which also show us who's been activated, right? So we don't have to have We don't necessarily have to put the finished ones on there, but it gives us a little more color on the map. And I like the flags, and it's also how you do it if you're playing on the board. So I think we're good. If we missed anybody, I'll make sure and flip them, but I think we got everybody. I'm just double checking. So everyone's flipped. We have the turn marker back at the top, and we are now at the 6:20 phase. And I'll read about fog. I think that's only every hour. I don't think the fog level comes down at the 20 and the 40-minute marks, so I think we're good there, but I'll read about that before we start the next one. And we're good to go. So we'll start the next turn when we continue. I really just wanted to fix that up and do it right. And for those that saw the other videos where this guy was here and he had lost 3 or 4 strength points and they had lost like 1 or 2, and it was just, and these guys were up closer because I forgot about the other slopes. So it was just a really good learning experience, and at least this way we're doing it right for anybody that wanders into video number 5. So I think I'm going to stop there at 51 minutes, and I appreciate you joining me for this correction video, and I'll continue there next time. I'm looking forward to seeing how we can start shaking out these units. Have a good day.